I'm Sneha, and today I'm going to be talking about why UX. We're going to look at it from three different perspectives. We're going to look at it as why UX is a designer, why UX as a business, and why UX as a dreamer. So, starting with the first, the core one, why UX as a designer? As designers, the basic thing that we learn is problem solving, and UX is the core of it. Every time we go meet a user, every time we speak to a business, we are solving problems. We're talking to them about what works for them, what doesn't work for them, how they feel. And that's something, as designers, we have an innate ability to do. That's where empathy of designers can be utilized most. Now, as UX designers, people who are aspiring to be UX designers and are already in the industry, there'll be enough and more customers who come and say, Abhi, I just want this much. Can you do the rest of the process later? Now, as designers, this becomes sort of our responsibility. One, to educate people, to let them understand the meaning of UX, and then help them understand the value addition that UX brings. So, say, as a designer, when you go to a customer, like most customers who might not have the same knowledge that you did because you went to design school and they didn't, you have to help them understand how is it going to impact them today, almost like low-hanging fruits. How is it going to impact them long term? What is this measurable distance of value that they will achieve? The moment as designers we start doing this, everybody understands the value and they start appreciating what can be done. As designers, another very important thing, we expect as designers that people should understand our ideas, they should understand our concepts, they should quickly start believing in us, which is not possible. Now, imagine there's a sales guy who comes at your doorstep. Your mom opens the door and he says, you know what, I've got this new device for massaging your back. It's got this whole physiotherapy sort of aspect and it's for 3,000 bucks. Your mom is going to grill that guy, even if she's remotely interested in buying this product. And eventually she might not even buy it. But why is she going to grill him? Because she wants to know, is there value for money? She wants to know if there is anything that's going to come out of this. How will she believe in it? She'll want to try it. I'll try it and I'll see if it works for me. Why do we go for test drives? Because we want to get a feel for it. We want to know if this is real. Is it real what they say in the advertisement? Is the seat as comfortable as they talk about in a car ad? That's why we go on a test drive, right? Similarly, for designers, you have to learn to know the fact that people will not believe you, that you will add value. They will not believe that doing UX will add any additional value. How do you do this? How do you show this value? You have to demonstrate. Do it and show. It may be a rough sketch, it may be a very rough concept. Put it on paper. Anything that's tangible, people start believing in it. Anything they can touch, feel, see. All of these emotions when, tapped into, people start believing in it. People start listening to you more. So as designers, this is why you need to be UX designers. This is why you need to practice design a certain way. Because only when you do this, you will be able to help the industry as an ecosystem to understand design, to value it, to appreciate it. And as an ecosystem, we will all grow together. Right now, you might just be thinking about UX is great because it pays really well because there's a demand and supply thing in UX. But tomorrow, to be relevant in this industry, this why UX is so important for all designers. You need to understand why UX. You need to be able to paint that picture of short-term and long-term goals. You need to be able to show businesses that this is going to add value. This is eventually going to make them successful. Only when that happens, as an ecosystem, we will be able to drive change. As an ecosystem, we will be able to educate more people. about user experience. We will have more successful products. We will create more engaging experiences. So this is why UX for designers. Now coming to the business aspect of things. Imagine a large size company comes to you and says, you know what? I want to build this product. It's going to make me billions of dollars in the next 2 years. Great. What then? Here's when again, why do they need UX? They need UX because UX is the center. Imagine this is the center of the universe. Everything revolves around it. Marketing, technology, finance, sales, advertising. Everything will revolve around it. So this is the only center which can bring all the other teams into the center picture, bring them all onto the same page and help them understand the value of the eventual goal and also define that path. So when I was much younger, a lot of times people who I spoke to told me that, you have to do A, then you have to do B, then you have to do Z, then you have to do D. I now believe that you have to start from Z and you come backwards. That's what UX does for businesses. You see a goal. How do you achieve it? What is this lovely path you built for it? How do you execute things? How do you move forward? How do you plan? All of that is UX. How do you make it in a way that when the business came and said in 2 years I'm going to make billions of dollars, you said, you know what? Great. I'll tell you how to make billions and billions and billions in the next 5 years. That's where great scalable products are designed. That's where great businesses are designed. This is why, again, UX. It's brought the entire organization's knowledge base from very different backgrounds on the same page, adding so much value, adding so much information, adding so much attention to detail for everybody's mindset that this is where a business becomes successful. Now, when you talk to any business, they always talk about ROI. That is the overall goal for every business. But when you take one deeper look as UX, that's when you realize ROI is the eventual outcome. Goals are short-term and long-term again. Short-term could be, I want to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the users of my business. I want to have more ease of use. I want to increase safety. I want to bring in delight. I want to make customers happy. All of these goals are the underlying goals of any business, which will eventually result in ROI, which is the output. This is why UX for businesses. Now let's move on to my favorite bit, UX for dreamers. Who are dreamers? Dreamers are anybody and everybody who has an idea. I've read it a lot of places. I've also heard from a lot of senior people in the industry. While you think of one idea, there are 10 other people in the universe thinking about the same idea. Now, if there are 10 other people thinking about the same idea at the same time, like you are, how do you make your idea relevant? How does your dream has more relevance in the universe compared to the other 10 people? Again, the basics of user-centered design. Everything boils down to the basics. And that basis, your dream, needs to be validated. That's wherein UX comes in and says, let's understand your dream from the perspective of business, technology, and design. When we do all these three together and we see the feasibility, that's where we know what are the gaps in your idea, how to make this idea's USP actually relevant or not. What is that value add in that idea of yours that the other 10 people will not have? What is the difference in your execution of the same idea compared to somebody else's? Let's take examples of e-commerce. you all must have seen, right? There's been a whole wave about e-commerce. Somebody started it. eBay, Amazon, these were the early guys into e-commerce, right? And now, for every little thing, there's a separate e-commerce site. You want to buy specs. There are 5 different sites. You want to buy shoes. You have individual sites for just buying shoes. You got individual sites for buying gifts. Customized everything. Now, the ecosystem of ideas. E-commerce was an idea. Now that idea was used in different domains in different ways, which made other businesses successful. How did they come to that point? Because they realized there is a certain problem in the ecosystem. People want to do specific shopping for specific things. Then they realized that after a point, that specific shopping wasn't what they wanted. They wanted one site for everything. Like Amazon recently introduced this whole pantry feature, Amazon Pantry, right? I love it. I don't have time to buy groceries. I order my groceries, they come home, and it's simple. Dal is over, it's delivered. At the same time, from Amazon, I'm also buying gadgets and like other things, which is so convenient. Now, this is where your idea ecosystem requires UX. Everybody in e-commerce believed that they all had great ideas for e-commerce. What made them unique is validation of their idea through multiple different metrics and then the execution of it in a way that it created its own USP. Now, there are a lot of people who've studied great things and done MBAs and learned marketing and finance and all of these things. But that's unilateral, unidirectional, one directional thought. Going back to the fact that design is data driven. If you had different opinions on the same table, you would have validated way more things than just the angle at which the idea came as an individual, as a dreamer. This is why, again, UX comes into the center. So at the end of this, all I want to say is the why for UX is the most important, the most critical thing that everybody should ask themselves while thinking about UX. When a business is thinking, I need UX, they need to ask themselves, why do they want UX? As a dreamer, when you're thinking about building something, you need to ask yourself, why do you need UX? As a designer, if you're doing UX, practicing UX, you need to ask yourself, why are you practicing UX? Are you practicing it to make wireframes? Make things pretty? No, you have to go down that path, you have to understand the depth of this subject. And only then that knowledge base will be created and this entire ecosystem of UX is going to move forward in the industry. Thank you. If you have any questions about why UX from any perspective, reach out to me.